if it's meant to be, then it will, God willing. Sky's the limit, and I'm busting out the ceiling. Starting to get to the point where I don't catch feeling. Just counting these millions, I need 100 a show. If you can't pay, it's enough. I would never sell my soul. That's the truth, Lord knows. All I need is good vibes, so I don't trust these hoes. I done lost my bros. That's just how the game goes. Came a long way, get it straight. They want the food on my plate. They don't want to see me strive. Just want a piece of the cake. All I need is good vibes, and everything will be great. But they rather tell lies.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I'm your host, Grant Hefe, and get ready for another episode of Unpopular Opinion. Hey, how y'all doing today, man? Today is Wednesday. Losing track of my days already, huh? Wednesday, the 7th. We got some pretty good sports to talk about today. We had a late season signing going on. We finally got some college basketball action last night. Gonna get into some of that. We got a little Thursday night football tomorrow night. We're just gonna preview that game, obviously, because we're gonna pick games tomorrow on RTL Sports Talk. And what else we got on the list? Oh, we're gonna talk a little Dak Prescott and some and Jerry Jones. But before we get started, make sure you guys follow me on Twitter and Instagram at GrandHefe, GranXJEFE. Make sure you guys stay tuned for an Unpopular Opinion Instagram page. I will be probably making that within the next few days or so before I come back on air on Friday. So I have that for you guys. Also, make sure you follow the Unpopular Opinion Facebook page at Unpopular Opinion 2018 for all news when I'm going live. I normally tweet out when I'm going or post when I'm going live. Also, follow the Unpopular Opinion Twitter page at Unpopular 2018. I post on my personal Twitter and I post on my, I normally tag my, the Unpopular Opinion page, so whenever I'm going live. Also, for the people that's new, I've joined the RTL Sports brand, so a lot of my stuff now will be under the RTF's brand. I have my own stuff, obviously. You can still follow the Unpopular Opinion page on Spreaker. You can also follow my YouTube Unpopular Opinion page as well, Unpopular Opinion. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get started with today's show. We're going to start out with the breaking news that happened probably about an hour ago. Dez Bryant traded to the not traded because he was a free agent. Dez Bryant signs with the New Orleans Saints. That works perfectly. Thanks. That worked out perfectly for the Saints because Ted Ginn has been put on IR as of late. And they don't really have anybody outside of Michael Thomas that can really do anything worthy in that offense. Obviously they still have Kamara, Ingram, Breeze, but I think now getting Michael Thomas a second option, that's going to help big time. Dez Bryant, he's a 3-time Pro Bowler, had 3 straight 1,200-yard seasons with 12 touchdowns, 2012, 2013, and 2014. Those are all the Tony Romo years. His last Pro Bowl came in 2016, which was Dak Prescott's rookie year. And ever since then, he kind of fell off. The problem that I've always had with people kind of nitpicking on Dez Bryant is, do you guys not realize that Dak Prescott is not a really good quarterback? He's a good quarterback. He's a decent quarterback for what you need him to be. Meaning he can make some throws. If he has a good running game, he has a good defense, he's going to play extremely well. We've seen Dak Prescott do that and at the University of Mississippi State. Sorry, not the University of Mississippi, because that'd be Ole Miss. Mississippi State University. Mississippi State. We've seen that. If he has a good running game, he has a good defense, which most teams in the SEC do. They play good defense. They run the ball very well. They have a quarterback that can sit back there and manage the game. We seen that Dak Prescott can do these types of things. You seen what he did his rookie year in the NFL. Behind a good running game, and that defense played very well. Then why? Because they were able to control the clock on the offensive side of the ball. They're not as tired. It's not 3 and out. What happened the year before when Tony Romo got hurt. So, my thing about this is as I'm kind of eating my breakfast here. For all the people watching me live, you had a different Dak Prescott. You had a totally different Dak Prescott in year one when everything was going good, when Ezekiel Elliott was killing the game, right? But now teams are starting to figure out the way that we beat the Dallas Cowboys is we stop Ezekiel Elliott and we make Dak Prescott throw the ball. I seen a stat. I forgot who I was watching, but I seen a stat that said out of 33 quarterbacks that have thrown 275 yards this season, and this happened 118 times. 118 times, there have been 275 yards passing by a quarterback. 33 quarterbacks, none of them are Dak Prescott. His last 16 games, he has 16 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, 197 yards per game, and a predominantly passing lead. It doesn't matter how sorry you are. We got Fitzpatrick out here putting up 3 bills a game, and you're telling me a guy that Jerry Jones just said on the radio show yesterday that Dak Prescott was going to get extended. Now, I don't know. Maybe that's the Cowboys' mantra. We reward pure mediocrity. That's because that's what it seems like to me. I guess kind of extending him, but already saying that you're going to extend him before his rookie contract is even up. He still got the rest of this season and next season before you really have to make that kind of decision on extensions. Now, I said the same thing about Derek Carr. That what I'm about to say about what Jerry Jones said about Dak Prescott, and that's maybe he's trying to build his confidence up. John Gruden came out and said last week that Derek Carr is his quarterback moving forward, and I said right after he said that, I believe it was on RTL Sports Talk, or it might have been on Unpopular Opinion, one of these shows that I do. I said right then and there, that's just a confidence booster because he know that he needs Derek Carr to play well. He needs to keep his morale up so he can trade him. If you think that John Gruden is going to keep Derek Carr, that's to me, it's not crazy to think that he could possibly, keep Derek Carr. For me, I just don't think that that's likely. I think if we know Will Greer's coming out this year. We also may think that Justin Herbert is coming out. We know that my good friend Matthew Lau on RTL Sports Talk in the Big Blue Breakdown, he mentioned that he's seen a report that Justin Herbert could be waiting to play with his brother next season. So him coming to the NFL this next season may not be in the works. But if he's going to get a top 1 to 2 pick, I think Justin Herbert leaves because the only thing that he can benefit, the only thing that could happen from him staying in college is him losing traction, and he won't be able to outperform what he did this year. So you take the money when you can, but that's to be seen. So for me, John Gruden is doing what he's supposed to do as a coach. Let's keep Derek Carr morale up. That way, when we do trade him, at least we can say he was playing good. At least he's not down in the dumps. Because if he's down in the dumps, you're not going to get much for Derek Carr. And he's already struggling anyways. So you're going to want him to show a little sign of life. And John Gruden gave his quarterback the vote of confidence. Keep your spirits up. You're our guy. That's the old company line. I get it. Jerry Jones, I think that's what Jerry Jones, although I believe Jerry Jones actually believed that, and Jerry Jones is actually going to extend Dak Prescott. But it also could be so he can keep his spears up, so he can extend them. But I think Jerry Jones is definitely going to extend Dak Prescott, which to me is absolutely crazy. He can't push the ball downfield. I picked the Tennessee Titans the other night on Monday night because I said that I thought he was going to force the ball to Amari Cooper, being that Tavon Austin was out. And what happened? Down on the goal line, they're driving. They got a chance to go up 14-0. After Cooper had just scored the first touchdown, albeit it was a pretty easy one. At that point, he had 2 catches for 15 yards in that 1 touchdown. But they're I believe it was like on the 10-yard line. They're going in to score 14-0. At the very least, you could probably go leave out of this 10-0. But what does he do? He tried to force the ball to Amari Cooper, exactly what I said he would do, in double coverage, and he got picked off in the end zone. And from there, that offense just never really got going. They lost the game 28-14. That's what I think the Dallas Cowboys is. When Ezekiel Elliott cannot get loose, when he cannot do what Zeke does, Dak Prescott is just not a good quarterback. He's not a franchise quarterback. Could he be good in spurts? Yeah, because he's not terrible. He's not sorry. So don't mistake what I'm saying that he's sorry. But I just think that he's not the guy that's going to be able to lead a team, and that's why you've seen Dez Bryant numbers go from here to down here. His numbers dipped big time. Playing with Dak Prescott. Dez Bryant is a vertical threat. Now I know he's getting older, and that may not be the case. He dropped a lot of balls. That is true. But anybody's mental psyche will be messed up if you were the man, and then all of a sudden you get a new quarterback, and then now he can't do what the old quarterback did. Now, excuse me. I think Tony Romo was a better quarterback than Dak Prescott. A lot of people talk bad about Tony Romo, but what people don't realize is Tony Romo stayed in the top 10 numbers wise in the NFL. The only reason that he got this negative stigma to me was because he made terrible mistakes in the most inopportune times. That doesn't make you a bad quarterback. LeBron James had a problem closing earlier in his career. People still consider him one of the best to ever play the game. So yeah, those late game blunders was a problem, but people were talking about Tony Romo as if Tony Romo just wasn't a good quarterback, and I just don't understand that at all. So Dez Bryant moving forward with the Saints, they've already won, I believe it's 7 straight. They got Drew Brees back there. He's opposite of Michael Thomas, which means he's going to see a lot of one-on-one coverage. I think Dez will be able to attack that, especially in this pass-heavy centric year of offenses, where everything is basically catered towards the offensive guy. And he has Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. So it's not like they need that. It's not like the Amari Cooper situation in Dallas where they need him. They need Amari Cooper to come in and be the man because they don't have one. That's not the case in New Orleans with Dez Bryant. They just need him to come in and be a good opposite of Michael Thomas. That's all they need him to do. Just be a good opposite of Michael Thomas. And I think he can do that because I've seen him do that. You don't just lose how to run routes and how to catch the football. That's wide receiver is one of the I've said this many times on the podcast. You guys are going to hear me say it a bunch more. Wide receiver is one of the easiest positions to play in any sport. We're talking about Little League. We're talking middle school. We talking now. It gets a little bit more, intricate. It gets a little bit more tough, but it's all the same. To high school, to college, to NFL, you're still running routes and catching the football, and it's even easier to do now than it was ever back in the day. The DB bail, and you got an option route. You break it down and sit down. He bite. You go deep. It's simple. It's still running routes. The offensive scheme may be a little bit more difficult. Obviously, the play, you may have a 13-second long play compared to when you was in high school or college. You might have had just about a 5-second play. But most of that stuff means nothing because all you're doing is listening for your assignment. They always said X dig, Y post. X is going to run a dig, Y is going to run a post. It's still the same. It's still the same concepts. You're running your routes. You're catching the football. I don't believe Dez Bryant has forgot how to do that. And playing with a guy like Drew Brees rather than Dak Prescott is going to be a lot more beneficial to his game. Moving along, man, we had some. Let's talk the college football playoffs rankings first before we get to the Duke game and then the Thursday night game. I have a problem with these rankings. The top 6, I kind of figured that's who was going to be there. I posted out on Twitter yesterday before the rankings went out and on Facebook before the rankings went out. I had Alabama number 1. Obviously, Alabama is the best team in the country. I've been saying that all year. I don't think nobody could beat them. I think the best team that could beat them is at number 2, and that's Clemson. I had Alabama at number 1, Clemson at number 2. I had Michigan at number 3, Notre Dame at number 4. Let me tell you why. I think Michigan is better than Notre Dame. And I know what people are gonna say. Well, you know, Billy, they beat Notre Dame beat Michigan week 1 of the season. You're right, that was week 1 of the season. Michigan now has the best defense in all of college football. Michigan quarterback Shea Patterson has now looked really, really comfortable. You know, that offensive line is playing really, really well. It seemed like they got rid of their bad offensive line struggles, gave my team, Florida State, their offensive line coach. And although we probably had already bad offensive line, it just seemed like it's gotten worse with Greg Fry since he's moved over from Michigan, came to Florida State. That's neither here nor there. But the top 6, I really had no problem with. I just had Michigan over Notre Dame, but to me, it really doesn't matter having Notre Dame over Michigan. They're undefeated. They did win the head-to-head, so that should count for something. So I really wasn't too surprised there. I kind of figured that the committee would put Notre Dame at number 3, obviously, but just, you know, a part of me thought that maybe they don't care about that, obviously, because they put a one-loss LSU team over Notre Dame last week. So I thought, knowing that what the committee has been doing, they don't care about how good your record is. They care about the eye test. Are you better than what anybody else I see? Anyways, so Michigan came at number 5. Oklahoma came at number 6. Now, no surprise there. But this is where I start to differ with the committee. They dropped LSU from number 3 to number 7. Now, that makes no sense to me. LSU has not been looked good this season. Yeah, they beat Auburn. Yeah, they beat Georgia. And I think the committee overreacted to that. This LSU football team is not a good football team. Say what you want to say. Joe Burrow is their downfall. He will be the reason why they will not succeed. Just like another team that I'm going to talk about later who I don't agree with. I don't understand how you put a 2-loss LSU team who just got housed at home, 29-0 to Alabama, housed, didn't even score. And if you watch that game, LSU was not in control of that game at all. This is not one of those, you know, takes where, you know, the score don't really symbolize how close the game was. No, the score don't even do Alabama any justice, because Alabama really, you know, killed LSU in this game at home, at Death Valley, at night, with all the stars there. I just don't see how the committee looked at LSU and said, yeah, we believe that this one-loss LSU team is still better than an Ohio State team. It's better than the West Virginia team. It's better than the Washington State team. I do not see for the life of me how they could see that. But they did. They moved them 3-7. Completely SEC bias, which I don't understand, because the SEC is not a good conference as a whole. It's been Alabama and Georgia the whole year, and I think Georgia could be beat. You got Alabama who's holding that conference, who's keeping that conference afloat. You know, I asked my good buddy Matthew Lau a few weeks ago when we were talking about the SEC. He's an SEC guy. And I asked him, what team outside of Alabama, when was the last team outside of Alabama, SEC team, has won the national championship? He told me 2010. Folks, are we realizing that's 8 years ago? And in counting, because unless Alabama win it this year, I don't see Georgia beating Clemson or Michigan. So we're talking about 8 years ago, the last time a non Alabama SEC team or non-SEC team outside of Alabama has won a national championship. It's been Alabama or bust in that conference for the longest. Last year, they were 4-5 or 4-6 in bowl games. So people keep telling me about the SEC. The SEC is this good. The SEC is this and that. But anytime they're on the big stage outside of Alabama, they don't do anything. So I just don't get it. And one of those losses and one of those wins out of the 4, obviously you got 2 from Alabama. You got 1 from Georgia that beat Oklahoma. The SEC gets this just unreal thing that they just so much better than everybody else. Now that's what I do not get. I don't get that at all. Another team, you got Kentucky sitting right at 11. UCF won. They're undefeated. They stayed at number 12. Kentucky jumps from 9 to 11. I don't understand that. Kentucky is also not a good football team. Their quarterback is not good. Benny Snell, he's for real. That defense is pretty good. But as you can see, when they played a good team as Georgia, a team in Kentucky that hasn't allowed more than 20 points in a game all season, they gave that up to Georgia, and it could have been worse. I don't know how the committee sat and watched that Georgia-Kentucky game and got from this team was only 2 spots lower. I just don't get it. They got demolished at home. Another team who got beat at home, and it wasn't even close. It was not even close. The only thing that kept Kentucky in this game was unforced errors by Georgia. The fumble, the snap over Fromm's head, going in to score right before halftime. Save Kentucky. The miss handle of the ball from Fromm to the running back that got turned over. Help Kentucky. It's not like they forced these turnovers. It's not like they forced the interception or they forced these fumbles. These was unforced errors at home. Who the committee thought was a top 10 team in the country, and they got beat. I don't understand this SEC bias where they're trying to push the agendas of these teams in the SEC. That's not good. They are not good. Kentucky is not a good football team. LSU is not a good football team. Say what you want to say. They're not a good football team. LSU has also benefited from playing good teams at home. When they beat Georgia, they was playing at home. Death Valley is a tough place to play. Just not tough enough for Alabama, who's been there 6 times and only lost 1 time. But these teams are not good. The committee is just trying to push their agenda, to have 2 SEC teams in there. And, I was talking to my to the guys, Mike and Matthew in the group chat yesterday, and they were saying that Notre Dame could win out and still be left out of the college playoffs. I don't see that happening. They are Notre Dame. People now, and they were saying just because they didn't have a conference affiliation, they're still Notre Dame. Notre Dame has never had a conference affiliation. So what would stop them from being in there now if they're undefeated at the end of the season? It's not like Notre Dame has played cupcakes. Now, they haven't played the toughest of schedule. I get that. But it's not like they like they've been playing cupcakes here now. They still are Notre Dame. They still have that prestige of being Notre Dame Fighting Irish. So to say that Notre Dame could go undefeated and still not make it to the college football playoffs, that's absurd to me. That's crazy talk. That's probably the most craziest things I've heard all year long, that Notre Dame could run the table and still be left out. Well, who's going to jump them? I don't see a 1-loss Alabama team that... Let's put this scenario out, right? Georgia, Alabama both remain undefeated as they are right now. Obviously, Georgia has lost 1 game, but I'm saying undefeated from this point on out. Georgia beats Alabama. I don't see a 1-loss Alabama team getting in over an undefeated Clemson team, an undefeated Notre Dame team, and a 1-loss Michigan team who has looked very good and win the Big Ten. I don't see Alabama getting in that situation. I think at that point, you're going to have Georgia, you're going to have Clemson, you're going to have Notre Dame, you're going to have Michigan. There's no way a one-loss Alabama team jumps a undefeated Notre Dame team, because that'll be the only team that they could really jump. If Michigan goes to the Big Ten championship and win the Big Ten, they're going to bring the Big Ten champion in there. Obviously, they are already in the top 4. They're going to get the ACC champion in Clemson, because Clemson has looked like the second best team in the country. They're going to take the one-loss SEC champion. So if Georgia beat Alabama, it'll be Georgia. And they're going to take Notre Dame, who will be undefeated as well with Clemson. So to say that Notre Dame won't get in, I just don't see that. I just don't see that at all. That'd be crazy to me. Moving along to college basketball, Duke played Kentucky last night. Obviously, we had a doubleheader. Kansas and Michigan State played in the first one. Kansas can be beat. Kansas is the number 1 team in the country. They can be beat. And I think my Duke Blue Devils have a really good chance of going to the Final Four and winning it this year. This team kind of remind me of 2015 when we had the 4 freshmen, the 4 talented freshmen, and then we had a few guys that had already been there that kind of can anchor the team. And that's what I seen last night. I seen good three-point shooting coming off the bench. From the bench players, Marquise Bolden played really well yesterday. I'm glad that he decided to come back to college because he wasn't ready for the NBA. He played pretty good last night. But these 4 freshmen, and Trey Jones didn't have the points, and he didn't have the flashy stats that you would like to see, I guess, or that most people wanted to see. But he controlled that offense. He constant pressure on the ball on Higgins and those guards. Making the right play, slowing the game down when it needed to be, pushing the pace when he needed to be. R.J. Barrett is absolutely amazing. 13 to 26. He shot 3 from 7 from 3. We want to see a little bit better shooting from there, but 33 points. Control the game, can get to the lane anytime he wants. He kind of got that old man's game where he's never really in a hurry to do anything, but he's so efficient. Cam Reddish, 6 of 14. He was 3 of 8 from 3. I thought he missed a little some easy open shots, but he finished with 22 points. He's going to get his feet up on them. Obviously, he didn't play in the Canada tour because he was hurt. He's the only one out of these freshmen that didn't play a lot or didn't play at all. He didn't play at all during the Canada tour. He's going to get into basketball shape. And Zion Williamson, 11 of 13. Took and made his only 3 of the game, added 7 boards, 28 points. This guy is as good as advertised. A lot of people have never really seen R.J. Barrett. They only seen highlight tapes on YouTube. And the highlight tapes on YouTube is only going to show you the dunks. It's only going to show you the flashy plays. So a lot of people have never really seen this guy actually play. This guy is more than just a dunker. He could get to the rim. Now he needs to get better consistently shooting the mid-range. He can pass. He can rebound. What I didn't like yesterday, he played defense a lot with his hands, but this guy can play defense. This guy's a total package. We was in, the group text, and Mike was saying, Kentucky need to get in his head in the second half. And I was like, that's not going to work. We're talking about a guy, who has 1.8 million followers on Instagram. He's heard it all. He's not worried about whether or not you say something bad. Get in his head. He's been a superstar since the age of 14. Since the age of 14. This guy has heard it all. So getting his hair not going to work. This Duke team, I believe, could beat anybody in the country. This Duke team is for real. And I think Coach K might have stumbled upon something with this one. I think he might have did something with this one. Moving along to the Thursday night game that we got tomorrow night. Steelers or Panthers at Steelers. This should be a good game. Both teams are clicking at the right time. Both teams are trending upward. Le'Veon Bell has to sign that tender in about the next 5 days or so in order for him to be eligible to play and be able to go somewhere in the offseason. I fully expect him to do that. James Conner has been playing really well. Big Ben and Antonio Brown is Wi-Fi lit. Shout out to Future. Everything has been clicking well. But on the other side, you got Cam Newton, who's been playing really well. Christian McCaffrey, who's been playing well. Devin Funchess and DJ Moore. Curtis Samuel. Greg Olsen. They have been playing some really good football in Carolina. And I've been saying this for the longest. The one thing that you don't want Cam Newton to do is that's to have fun. You don't want Cam Newton to have fun while playing football. That's the worst Cam Newton for any defense that you can possibly imagine. It's good for the Carolina Panthers. It's good for them. But it's bad for the league when Cam Newton is having fun playing football. That's the worst mistake that any defense can have. North Turner have really rejuvenated Cam Newton, completing about 65-66% of his passes. That's the most in his career. That's the highest in his career. He's taken away what Cam Newton do worse, and that's the deep ball. We know Cam Newton has struggled with his accuracy. He's just a playmaker. So what is he doing? He's implementing shorter, better intermediate throws for him. And it's been working out. Cam Newton has been playing amazing. So tomorrow night, we looking to get a show. We are looking to get a show from the Carolina Panthers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think this is going to be a good game. Going to be a close game. I'll make my pick tomorrow on RTS Sports Talk. But that's going to be it for today, guys. Make sure you guys follow me on Instagram and Twitter at GrantJefe, GRANXJEFE. Also, make sure you follow the Unpopular Opinion Facebook page at Unpopular Opinion 2018. Make sure you guys follow the Unpopular Twitter page at Unpopular 2018. Also, RTS Sports Talk is live every Tuesdays and Thursdays, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, Sundays, 9:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7:45 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. The Unpopular Opinion Podcast has a new time and a new home on RTF Productions. You can still search it at Unpopular Opinion, and it'll still come up. We're live on every Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. That's 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want to say thank you guys for downloading the podcast. I'll see you guys tomorrow on RTS Sports Talk. Thanks for all the support.
If it's meant to be, then it will, God willing. God willing. Sky's the limit, and I'm busting out the ceiling. Starting to get to the point where I don't catch feeling. Nah. Just counting these millions, ayy. I need 100 a show. If you can't pay, it's enough. I would never sell my soul. That's the truth, Lord knows. All I need is good vibes, so I don't trust these hoes. I done lost my bros. That's just how the game goes. Came a long way, get it straight. They want the food on my plate. They don't want to see me strive, but want a piece of the cake. All I need is good vibes, and everything will be great. But they rather tell lies. I don't have time for the fake. Who would've knew? Praying to God, asking what do I do? I've been the truth since I came out the womb. Keep it 100, got nothing to lose, got nothing to fear. Let it be clear, God got my back when nobody else.